Lights, camera lockdown? Hollywood is known for its glitz, glam, and red carpets, but not every star's story ends in a standing ovation. Some of Tinseltown's most famous faces have traded in their luxury mansions for cold, steel bars. From shocking scandals to high-profile crimes, these once beloved celebrities now find themselves behind bars, serving time instead of box office hits. Danny Masterson, best known for playing Stephen Hyde on That 70s Show, had a successful career, starring in Men at Work and The Ranch alongside Ashton Kutcher. But in 2017, his life took a dark turn when 3 women accused him of indecent assault, prompting the Los Angeles Police Department to investigate. According to the victims, between 2001 and 2003, Masterson provided them with alcohol, which left them disoriented before harming them at their homes. He was arrested on 3 counts, and while his first trial ended in a jury not reaching a unanimous verdict, a retrial convicted him on 2 counts. In 2023, he was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25.5 years. He is currently serving his sentence at the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo. Adding to the controversy of the case, all 3 victims were members of Scientology at the time and have alleged that the Church of Scientology pressured them to remain silent. One victim said she was warned not to use the word shit and was told that reporting Masterson could result in being disfellowshipped. The church has denied any wrongdoing, insisting that it does not have a policy that prevents members from going to the police. Joe Sun first appeared as a UFC fighter, but his career was anything but storied, ending with a 0-4 record. Moving to Hollywood, he found work in low-budget action films before landing his most infamous role as Random Task in Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. While his role was played for laughs, the real-life horror behind the man was anything but funny. In 2008, a routine arson charge led to a chilling revelation. Sun's DNA had linked him to an unsolved brutal case from 1990. Although a restraining order acquitted him of the assault charges, he was convicted of felony torture and sentenced to 7 years to life in prison. But the nightmare didn't end there. Just a month into his sentence, Sun murdered his cellmate, earning him an additional 27 years. From failed boxer to Hollywood villain to one of the most feared criminals in recent history, his story is a grim reminder that sometimes the real monsters lurk right in front of our eyes. But will justice ever be served? Jen Shah made a name for herself on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, captivating audiences with her sharp one-liners and dramatic flair. But behind the designer outfits and over-the-top persona was a much darker reality, one built on fraud. In March 2021, Shah was arrested on charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering. Prosecutors accuse her of running a telemarketing scam that preyed on elderly victims, promising them lucrative business opportunities in exchange for thousands of dollars. The so-called services like website building and business coaching were virtually worthless. Federal reports revealed damning evidence. Shah not only joked about her victims' suffering, but also exchanged messages with co-conspirators about ways to squeeze more money from them. Initially claiming innocence, Shah eventually confessed guilty to wire fraud. In 2023, she was sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison. Currently imprisoned at FPC Bryan in Texas, she won't be eligible for parole until August 2028. Her dramatic downfall is a stark reminder that no amount of reality TV fame can shield someone from the consequences of their actions. Todd and Julie Chrisley became household names as the stars of Chrisley Knows Best, a hit reality TV show that premiered in 2014. The series followed the glamorous, drama-filled lives of the Chrisley family, showcasing their Southern charm, lavish lifestyle, and Todd's sharp-witted parenting style. However, behind the scenes, the couple was living a very different reality, one built on financial deception. In August 2019, legal troubles came crashing down. Todd and Julie were charged with tax evasion, bank fraud, and wire fraud, accused of dodging nearly $2 million in state taxes and hiding $1 million in Chrisley Knows Best earnings from the IRS. Prosecutors revealed that the couple falsified income and asset documents to secure massive bank loans, borrowing over $30 million to maintain their extravagant lifestyle while simultaneously evading taxes. Despite initially pleading not guilty, the trial exposed a pattern of fraud that spanned years, with Julie even being convicted of attempting to cover up their crimes by doctoring financial records. After a nearly 3-week trial, the Chrisleys were convicted of multiple financial crimes. Todd received a 12-year prison sentence, while Julie was sentenced to 7 years. Todd is currently serving his time at the Pensacola Federal Correctional Facility in Florida, while Julie is imprisoned at the Federal Medical Center in Lexington, Kentucky, formerly at Mariana Federal Prison. Once known for their picture-perfect TV family, the Chrisleys' downfall serves as a stark reminder that reality always catches up with you. For 14 seasons, Darren Sharper was a standout in the NFL. As a safety for the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, and New Orleans Saints, he built a reputation based on speed, intelligence, and playmaking ability. A 2-time All-Pro and 5-time Pro Bowler, Sharper was among the league's most respected defensive players. His defining moment came in 2010 when he helped the Saints secure their first Super Bowl victory, a deeply meaningful achievement for a city still rebuilding in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Yet behind the accolades and success lay a far darker reality. In 2014, serious accusations surfaced against Sharper, with 2 women alleging that he had used drugs to take advantage of them, one incident occurring in West Hollywood and another the following night in Las Vegas. The revelations rocked the sports world, and by 2015, lawsuits had been filed. Though settlement details remained undisclosed, what initially seemed like isolated claims quickly expanded into a much larger scandal. By 2016, the full scope of the case had become clear. Investigations across multiple states uncovered a pattern of troubling behavior, with at least 16 women reporting similar incidents. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Sharper pleaded guilty or no contest to charges in California, Nevada, Arizona, and Louisiana. Once celebrated for his leadership and skill on the field, he was sentenced to 18 years in prison, an extraordinary and sobering downfall for a player who had once been at the pinnacle of professional football. Shannon Richardson may not have been a well-known actress, but she managed to secure minor roles in hit TV shows like The Walking Dead and The Vampire Diaries. While her career in entertainment remained largely unremarkable, her name would later become infamous for reasons far removed from Hollywood. In 2013, she was at the center of a high-profile criminal case that shocked the nation, turning her from an aspiring star into a convicted felon. That year, Richardson sent a series of letters containing a dangerous toxin to prominent figures, including former President Barack Obama and New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. The toxic substance, notably referenced in the TV series Breaking Bad, was intended to cause panic and harm. As authorities scrambled to track down the source of the letters, Richardson attempted to shift blame onto her estranged husband, Nathan, fabricating a story that he had orchestrated the scheme. However, investigators uncovered inconsistencies in her claims, and forensic evidence ultimately pointed to her as the true culprit. Following a thorough investigation and trial, Richardson was found guilty of orchestrating the plot and was sentenced to 18 years in prison. What once seemed like a promising, albeit modest, career in the entertainment industry unraveled in the most dramatic and irreversible way. Instead of making a name for herself in Hollywood, she became synonymous with one of the most bizarre criminal cases in recent history, a fall from grace that left the public stunned. Kris Wu, originally from Canada, rose to fame as a member of the K-pop group EXO before pursuing a solo career and acting. By the mid-2010s, he starred in Chinese hits like The Mermaid and Journey to the West, The Demons Strike Back, as well as Hollywood films Return of Xander Cage and Valerian and The City of a Thousand Planets. His ability to navigate both Asian and Western markets made him an international star. However, in July 2021, Wu's career came to an abrupt halt when a woman accused him of serious misconduct, alleging that he had invited her to his home under false pretenses and taken advantage of her while she was intoxicated. As the case gained attention, more individuals came forward with similar claims, sparking a full investigation. In November 2022, Wu was found guilty and sentenced to 13 years in prison. Once a rising global icon, he now faces a starkly different reality, marking one of the most dramatic downfalls in modern. Ryan Grantham, once a promising child actor, gained recognition for his role as Rodney James in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. 2010, he later appeared in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus and an episode of Riverdale, amassing more than 30 acting credits. But in a shocking turn of events, his career ended in tragedy. At the age of 21, Grantham committed an unthinkable crime. He shot his mother while she was playing the piano in their British Columbia home. He then loaded his car with guns and ammunition, intending to assassinate Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Instead, he reconsidered, briefly considering a mass shooting at Simon Fraser University before eventually turning himself in. During his trial, court-appointed psychiatrists diagnosed Grantham with major depressive disorder and cannabis use disorder, among other issues. He pleaded guilty and expressed remorse, vowing to rehabilitate. Sentenced to life in prison, he will be eligible for parole in 2036 after serving 14 years. Who would have imagined that a beloved child actor would follow such a dark path? But his story is just one of many Hollywood downfalls, followed by Amy Locane, whose promising career was derailed by a fatal mistake.
No, not unless you drop those charges against Jake. He was just protecting me. He doesn't need this.
Well, I just wanted to go out with you.
You don't know anything about me.
Amy Locane, once a rising star known for her roles in Cry Baby and Melrose Place, saw her career and life unravel after a devastating decision. On June 27, 2010, while driving over 3 times the legal alcohol limit, she crashed into another vehicle, killing Helen Seaman, an NYU adjunct professor. Despite the severity of the crash, Locane initially received a surprisingly lenient 3-year sentence, 2 years below the minimum for second-degree vehicular homicide and assault by auto. The judge cited concerns for Locane's children in the decision. While behind bars, she joined Alcoholics Anonymous and became sober, but an appeals court later ruled her sentence too light, resentencing her to 8 years. She is currently incarcerated at New Jersey's Edna Mayhem Correctional Facility for Women, with eligibility for parole on December 20, 2024. Her tragic downfall is just one of many in Hollywood. Up next is Harvey Weinstein, the disgraced mogul whose name became synonymous with one of the biggest scandals in entertainment history. Once a dominant force in Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein co-founded Miramax and produced hits like Pulp Fiction, Good Will Hunting, and Shakespeare in Love, which earned him an Oscar. But his legacy was shattered when decades of abuse came to light. In 2017, A New York Times article revealed allegations from multiple women who accused Weinstein of inappropriate behavior. Soon after, The New Yorker published even more shocking claims, prompting nearly 100 women, including famous actresses, to come forward with their own stories. These revelations sparked the Me Too movement, exposing the dark side of Hollywood. By 2018, Weinstein was formally charged with sexual misconduct involving 2 women. Convicted, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison in New York. Additional charges in Los Angeles led to another 16-year sentence, and British authorities have since approved further charges in London. Now serving time in New York's Mohawk prison, the Weinstein scandal remains one of Hollywood's most notorious. Michael Jace is best known for his role as cop Julian Lowy on FX's The Shield, and his roles in films like Forrest Gump and Boogie Nights. But in 2014, his real-life story took a shocking turn. In front of their 2 young sons, Jace shot his wife at their Los Angeles home. As she collapsed, he coldly told her, "If you want to run, run to heaven." Prosecutors revealed that Jace, who was drunk, was driven by jealousy and feared his wife would leave him. At trial, the prosecution painted a picture of a man driven by rage and safety. They argued that Jace suspected April of having an affair and made the decision in a drunken rage. The defense claimed it was an impulsive act fueled by alcohol, but the jury saw through the defense. Jace was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. At his trial, Jace expressed remorse, stating, "There is no excuse for my actions. I am deeply sorry for the pain I have caused." But for his children, who witnessed the horrific act, no apology can erase the pain. Jace is currently serving time at the California State Prison in Corcoran, a tragic fall from the Hollywood spotlight he once enjoyed. Jared Fogle became a household name in 1999 after losing an incredible 245 pounds by adopting a homemade diet centered on Subway sandwiches. His inspiring weight loss story landed him a lucrative role as the face of Subway, where he starred in more than 300 commercials between 2000 and 2015. For years, Fogle was seen as a symbol of change and healthy living, but behind the scenes, he was hiding a shocking secret. In 2015, Fogle's perfect image was shattered when the FBI and Indiana State Police raided his home, seizing computers and storage devices containing horrifying content. The investigation was launched after Russell Taylor, the executive director of the Jared Foundation, a nonprofit supposedly dedicated to combating childhood obesity. Authorities discovered that Taylor had been exchanging illicit videos with Fogle, prompting them to dig deeper into his activities. What they discovered was even more disturbing. Investigators found incriminating text messages dating back to 2008. Facing a possible sentence of up to 50 years, Fogle pleaded guilty. He is currently serving 15 years and 8 months at Inglewood Federal Correctional Institution, with a parole deadline of March 24, 2029. Once an American success story, Fogle's name is now synonymous with infamy and betrayal. Jerry Harris rose to fame as the breakout star of Cheer, Netflix's Emmy-winning documentary series following the Navarro College Bulldogs cheerleaders from Corsicana, Texas. His infectious personality and boundless enthusiasm won over audiences, even catching the attention of Ellen DeGeneres, who invited him to be a special correspondent at the 2020 Oscars. But just months after immersing himself in the spotlight, Harris's reputation collapsed in one of the most shocking scandals to rock the entertainment world. In September 2020, a federal arrest warrant was issued for Harris on child exploitation charges. The investigation quickly escalated, uncovering disturbing evidence. Authorities reveal that Harris admitted to exchanging inappropriate images with multiple victims. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Harris pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 8 years of probation. He is currently serving his sentence at a federal correctional facility in Oklahoma City. Once a beloved figure in the cheerleading community, Harris' tragic downfall is a grim reminder of the hidden darkness that can lurk behind even the most charismatic public figures. Gary Glitter, once a name synonymous with energetic hits like rock and roll, has now become the center of serious controversy. For decades, his music was celebrated, and he enjoyed fame as a pioneering figure in glam rock. However, his legacy took a dramatic turn as legal troubles and disturbing allegations surfaced, tarnishing his reputation and overshadowing his career. In 2015, Glitter was sentenced to 16 years in prison in the UK after being convicted of multiple offenses. The ruling was seen as the culmination of a long history of legal issues that had followed him for years. However, despite the lengthy sentence, he was released in February 2023 after serving only half of his term. His return to the outside world was met with widespread public criticism, as many believed he had not served enough time for his actions. His freedom, however, was short-lived. Shortly after his release, Glitter was found to have violated the conditions of his parole, resulting in his immediate rearrest. Now back behind bars, reports suggest that he will be required to serve the remainder of his sentence, with a potential release date no earlier than 2031. The ongoing developments in his case continue to attract attention and spark debate, leaving many to question whether he will ever truly be able to reintegrate into society or if his past will forever define his legacy. During the rise of mixed martial arts in the 2000s, John Koppenhaver, who later adopted the name War Machine, was a fighter known for his raw aggression and knockout power. With 14 victories, including 8 by knockout, he competed in top promotions such as Bellator MMA and the UFC, even making an appearance on The Ultimate Fighter. Despite his potential inside the cage, his life outside of it was plagued by controversy, instability, and increasingly reckless behavior. In 2014, just a year after his last professional fight, his violent tendencies reached a tragic peak. He forced his way into the Las Vegas home of his former partner, launching a vicious attack on her and a friend who was present. The brutal assault led to 31 criminal charges, including multiple counts of assault and attempted murder. Once a promising name in MMA, Koppenhaver now found himself at the center of a legal battle that would determine his fate. In 2017, he was convicted on all but 2 charges and sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole until 2053. A once promising career ended in disgrace, serving as a grim reminder of how unchecked violence and destructive choices can lead to an irreversible downfall. William Hayden, former star of Discovery Channel's Sons of Guns, saw his rise to fame come to an abrupt end due to serious legal troubles. The show, which debuted in 2011, followed his Louisiana-based firearms business, where he and his daughter Stephanie worked on custom weapon designs. At its peak, Sons of Guns was one of the most watched reality series on television. However, after Hayden's arrest, the network swiftly canceled the show, signaling the collapse of his career. Authorities charged Hayden with multiple serious offenses tied to past allegations. His trial was highly publicized, and emotions ran high as the courtroom heard testimony from those affected. As the verdicts were read, victims and their families openly displayed their relief and grief over the case's outcome. In the end, Hayden was convicted on multiple felony charges and sentenced to life in prison. Once a well-known figure in the firearms industry, he now faces a future behind bars, serving as a stark reminder of how quickly success can turn into disgrace. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like to show your support, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts. See you in the next video.